Good evening, everybody. This is Daniel, and today we are talking about how you are sabotaging, or somebody in your life is sabotaging a relationship or relationships. How you are sabotaging, or somebody in your life is sabotaging. Let me pause that. So anyway, I was talking to a coworker slash friend of mine that I work with, and he was talking to me about his history of, relationships that have gone south and people who he could have been with, and would have been happy, but he's facing a lot of stuff internally. And, we got on the topic of his current relationship and how that is kind of heading into the same direction. And we really got down to the nitty gritty of, and he knows this. He knows that he sabotages his relationship. He's in his late 20s. And we were talking about how upset he is at the fact that he just doesn't know what to do. He has to do something. And what sparked this interest, this overwhelming interest in wanting to do something, is he called up drunk some random person who he thought could help him with him and his relationship. And so he's searching for something. He's searching for some kind of answer. And this is a good place to be in, because if you can admit to yourself that you are sabotaging a relationship, you're sabotaging yourself for, from your own, happiness that you can have. That's a good place to be in, even though it's still negative. It's a good place to be in because you at least know that there are things that you need to work on, right? And this is just really an important place to be. So what we had discovered that not only does he has issues with relationships, but when we look below the surface, there's actually things that unresolved, either emotional issues of self-worth. And an indicator that I realized when I was talking to him was when he was, and I'm trying to think about exactly what it was, when he was talking about his present girlfriend, right? Or his past girlfriend. There were things that he would do that, I'm sorry to be very vague here, but there are things that he would do where he's a great listener. He would say how he was really great, like at being kind of like spiritually involved in the relationship, growing the relationship spiritually, being for the person himself, emotionally for the other person. But he can give in a relationship, but he doesn't necessarily know how to take. And this is a common challenge that a lot of people have in relationships. This idea that we don't know how to take and build with one another in relationships, and the necessity, the sheer necessity that it is to give and take in relationships, not only to unconditionally love, but to realize what we need as people. And this kind of openingness that we need to do with one another in a relationship to really grow past our old stories and connect with more vibrant, proactive stories that are more happening in the now than they are in the past. Because once you stretch yourself out, from where you are now to the past, you're taking away the energy and time and focus that you would have in the moment, or within a closer span of time that matters, to you to move forward. And, rather than not wasting, but spending more time in the past that's more unchangeable than ever, with more information that really won't help you in the moment, because right now in the moment there are other things going on. Okay. So what I had recommended him do is, and within all this as well, he, I asked him, how intimate do you consider yourself as a person to yourself? Are you self-intimate, and are you intimate with others? And his response was, yes, I am. I'm emotional. So he has a couple of dimensions to intimacy, right? And so I'm really trying to pack a punch here on the idea of intimacy with him, and this game that people play on different fronts, where you can get into a relationship and people will find out that they can't love the person that they're with. They'll be like, if you ask them, oh, do you love this person, or how much do you like this person? They'll say 8 out of 10, right? What's that other 2 out of 10 that you're missing for it to be a 10 out of 10? It's intimacy. It's opening yourself up to the other person. It's being totally, absolutely vulnerable and powerless, not powerless, like powerlessness in the sense of you are submitting yourself to the trust that you would have in your other partner with who you are. Okay. And I told him this, and I said, listen, man, if you cannot fully play the game as it is with your girlfriend and whoever else in the future, if you can't, connect, and really syndicate and assimilate with your partner, and to be to the point where you can tell them not only your deepest, darkest demons, but tell them your thoughts, what you're thinking about. Being able to tell your partner, like, hey, like, I don't know how I feel about this relationship. Telling them really deep and sincere thoughts you have, right? And what this translates into, which a lot of people don't do in real life, is this is called intention. This is called our intentions with others. And we normally don't do these. And so a great example is this guy that I was, this my friend that I was talking to. He doesn't state his intentions with the women that he wants to be with long term. And so what this does, if you don't set your intentions from the beginning, from the get-go, meaning if you don't state like what you want, what you don't want, and what will really make you happy, what will make you feel loved, what you want to give back, how you want to build together, your life choices that you want in the future and in the now, and building the life together. If you don't really establish these ideas and thoughts and concepts early on, then you're going to subject yourself to more probable failure in the relationship because you haven't set your intention yet. People are so afraid to set intentions because it rocks the boat, where it really does the opposite. You state your intentions, and if the person on the other side doesn't like it, then you move on. You find somebody else who is going to really appreciate what you're bringing to the table. And so this is what I told him. I said, listen, man, I really want you to understand how important it is that how important intimacy is in a relationship. I want you to talk to your girlfriend about your thoughts. And this can go both for men and for women. I want you to open up, be vulnerable, tell her these really shitty things about yourself. Tell her how horrible you are. Tell her how much of a monster you are. Okay. And tell her all these things. Tell her what's on your mind, where you are in the relationship, what's holding you back, what would help you move forward. And this very experience of cross-sharing, right? This very intimate data, right? This is a place of stage 3 intimacy, which is a video I'm going to be doing separate, and then separate from another video of the different levels of communication and connectivity with somebody else, right? A pairing, the three layers of pairing, or the 3 layers of, I guess you could say, partnership, right? And whether it's a relationship or friendship, okay? And so I tell them this, come together, right? And one thing that I recommend people do to do this is what I just told him, really talk it out, communicate all these different things on a very deep level, okay? Another thing I recommended him do was, sit down, spend, put aside at least a good 1, 2, or 3 hours even with your partner. Sit down, go Indian style, get comfortable, and stare at each other for that time period, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, and just stare at each other and lock eyes and start becoming more and more comfortable with your partner in a vulnerable state, okay? Because there's nothing that builds relationships more than intimacy and communication and experiences where you can both share openness with one another. And it's not common practice in relationships where, you have this sharing of mental data, right? And, when you have a lack of sharing, you start to become more suspect of your partner, to cheating, to other things, right? You know, spending less time with them and other people and friends. And this is where people feel neglected, okay? And so the root of all of these relationship challenges that people face really comes from a lack of intimacy and a lack of intention. And when you really pair these together, they become a very powerful foundation to relationships. And you'd be surprised on the results that you may find. And for the people out there who are saying to themselves, I'm sabotaging my relationships, what do I do? Okay, go back to asking why. Why am I sabotaging my relationships? Look at the pattern. You know, if you don't know, then figure this. Most people who sabotage relationships end up, once they're with somebody, they always end up thinking about other people. And so I'm asking you now, if you ever come to a point where you think about somebody else when you're with somebody long term, you know, you're committed, maybe you have commitment issues, who knows? But then ask why, you know, ask why you can't commit, what's holding you back, right? If you do sincerely want to commit, right, then the first step is understanding, right, what's holding you back and why haven't you shown all of yourself to this person, okay? People who sabotage their relationships more often than not set up this little barrier where they play only half the game, or they play a partial percentage of the game of relationships, whereas the other person's putting in all of it, right? They're opening up the whole way. And this is where you get people who, you know, they don't love the other person back, but the other person loves them wholeheartedly, right? It's more often than not women. Women are totally, you know, once you get to a certain point with women, when a girl or a woman trusts you and sincerely likes you, they can get to a place of love way quicker than you. And you see a lot often than not relationships where the girl is in love and the guy is like, you know, question mark over his head. And it's because the man doesn't know how to be intimate, doesn't know how to connect. And it could happen for women too. It definitely happens for both genders. You're not saying it's more likely than one or the other. I don't know. And so, you know, you have to look at that. You have to look at one side not playing the game wholeheartedly than the other side, the other partner not playing, you know, then the other player, then the other partner definitely playing the game 100% of relationships. And so if you are sabotaging your relationships, you may want to see, you know, why you separate yourself, right, from the other person, right? And you may tell them things, you may, you know, be there for them, but people who sabotage their relationships may not be there for themselves in the relationships, you know, in terms of what they need and causing conflict, you know, on the surface level. Most relationships really are only in like the first stage, the second stage out of 3 stages, right? Long-lasting relationships require full 360 syndication of intimacy and communication. You know, because at the end of the day, love is reciprocal, right? And that's really important to know. So in terms of sabotaging relationships, a really easy way to overcome sabotaging relationships is to truly kind of understand, you know, the fact that you're not intimate with yourself, right? You're not self-respecting. You're not self-serving, right? I'm always going to say this going forward in my videos. People need to be a balance of self-serving and outer respecting to others. You need to serve your own agenda while at the same time being authentic and outer respecting and giving to the people around you. And people who are one or the other have a void of something, okay? And people who sabotage could be either self-serving or outer respecting. But, you know, in this example, this friend that I have, he is outer respecting. All he does, he gives in relationships, but he doesn't know how to take, because he doesn't believe that he's worthy of taking, right? Insecurity there. And, you know, this could stem from not being able to see this kind of reciprocal, loving relationship from an earlier age. It could be due to a lot of things. It could be due to like a billion different experiences. But it's important to note that you need to understand what intimacy is for yourself if you're this kind of person who sabotages the relationships. And you need to understand what intimacy is. You need to learn how to communicate the depths of who you are, to really represent yourself in a very transparent way, to break down this wall that you have, you know, this silver lining wall that you know exists, but the other person doesn't know. Break that down and to let that person on the other side. And if they don't respect what they see, then you move on to somebody who will appreciate that about you, appreciate that it is hard for you to open up. And it's within that surrender, and then the other person seeing that part of you and accepting it, right? And saying, listen, I know that you're really messed up, but I like you for you. And though you have some things, and yes, I understand you don't love me the way that I love you, know that regardless of what has happened to you, it does not define you, and you get to create your own story. And to have that surrender happen, and then to have somebody respect that and still like you, is a totally different feeling, right? It's a feeling of being welcome. It's a feeling of being wanted still, right? And I think a lot of people out there should explore that. So this has been a quick video. I really want to talk about this one idea because my friend that I talked to, you know, this is something I saw in him. You know, one of the first moments I met him, we didn't even talk about this, but I saw that he was going through something, and that he's a drinker, and that he just has a hard time, you know, accepting himself and you know, with his self-worth and his self-value, and what he's deserving of. He's deserving of infinity, but he doesn't see it, and he doesn't see that he deserves love, and he deserves particular things that he may want, and he needs to really go within those depths and really become intimate with himself, and then also with his partner. And it's definitely a prerequisite of relationships. If you cannot be intimate with yourself, if you cannot be self-aware and know what you want, know what you need, and give to others, you know, unconditionally, understanding that love is reciprocal, and that, you know, relationships require to be successful, it needs like a full assimilation of, you know, all these little variables, like being able to be vulnerable with somebody, being transparent with your intentions, right? You need to be able to practice sharing your intentions with people, because, you know, I want to do a separate video on this, but it's like the key to really great relationships. So, but anyway, this is all I have for you guys. If you like these videos, or you want to ask me a question, by all means, I love to do those kinds of videos. Within the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a lot of really cool content from me. So, you know, stay tuned for interviews, Monday motivations, you know, videos of my dating life, more videos about what you know, this kind of content. And, you know, remember, guys, to subscribe and like if you want to see more. You know, I'm really I'm investing more into YouTube. You know, I got this really great mic that I have here, and I got some new lighting, and soon I'll have a little bit better of a video resolution, video quality. So I'm trying to do a little bit more and make this more appealing to you guys. So I always appreciate feedback, whether it's in the comments or a personal email or something or other. I definitely appreciate it. So if you do like these videos, like and subscribe, and, you know, comment on your ideas. And I'll see you next time, guys. Cheers.